Hello everyone, if you're joining me today, today's Sunday School by Cornwall is to show you how to work mosaic crochet in two ways. So there's two different types which you can see here. Both of these examples, let's put them next to each other, both of these examples have used the same pattern, and that's the one that's shown in that chart there. Okay. The one on the right uses what's known as the Inset Technique, and you work 2 rows per colour, which means you can carry your colours up the side of the work, as that one has done there. The other way is known as the overlay technique, and for this you only work 1 row per colour, which is why we have ends appearing at both edges. Now they both have their individual likes, dislikes, in my opinion. I love the texture of this one. It gives a sort of a lovely bumpy feel, but I'm not a great person when it comes to having lots of ends. There are ways to deal with that, but that's one of the reasons I don't use that much. I use this one quite a lot because, as I say, you work 2 colours per row, so there's no ends to manage apart from at the beginning and the end. But as I say, they both use the same chart. I have a pattern that uses this, and it's called the steps bag, which is here. So I'll just show you it. I've got this pattern on my website if you're interested, and it uses this same technique all the way around to create a lovely little bag. So let's get going then. First of all, I'll show you this technique, which is the inset technique. So I have a little sample here. I'm going to be following the chart, and all of my patterns have both charts and written instructions. Okay, so we have, in this little sample, I've got 19 stitches. And when you're using this technique of mosaic crochet, you have 1 row per colour, but remember each row represents 2 actual rows worked. So that's why you've got a number 1 over here for a right side row and a number 2 over here for the wrong side row. So 2 colours, 2 rows in that first colour. Then you start alternating colours. 2 rows in the dark blue there, then light blue, light blue, etc. These tees here, I'll talk more about them when we come to them. I'm going to today be using UK terminology, so I'm going to be dealing with double crochets, which in US terminology is a single crochet. And I'm also going to be talking about trebles, which is what these tees are. And in US terminology, they are known as doubles. That's the only difference. So first of all, in this little sample I've started here, this beigey colour is the dark blue, and the pale blue I'm using cream. I am now on, I've done 2 rows in the beige, just straightforward UK double crochets, 19 of them across and back. Now I'm doing row 3, so I start with 3 squares in the cream. Now I've already done those, I've joined it in, and that's just 3 double crochets that you can see there. Then you come across a dark blue, which is the beige colour, and we haven't got a beige colour. What we have to do is skip that next stitch. We will use that later on, and do a couple of chains to get us past that stitch. So that's what I'm going to do now in my cream. 2 chains, 1, 2, and skip that next stitch. You always do 1 more chain than the number of stitches you're skipping. So skip that next stitch, and now we've got 5 light blues. So that is, after that stitch, that's 5 double crochets UK, single crochets if you're a US person. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so far we've done 3 and then 2 chains and skipped a stitch, 5, and now we repeat skipping a stitch with chains and 5 until we get to the last 3. So another couple of chains here because we're going to skip the next stitch, and now 5 double crochets, okay, so that's another 5. Now the last bit of the pattern is to skip one more stitch, chain 2, and then we should have 3 left, which doesn't look like I have. Maybe I didn't cast on enough. Never mind, it doesn't matter. We just work into that last one. Okay, so that's one row worked in the cream. Now, the second row worked in the cream. You don't really have to follow the chart. You just follow what you've already done. Because what you do, I'll just do one chain to get me up a little bit. In each double crochet, you do a double crochet. And where there were 2 chains, you just do 2 chains. So you do exactly the same, 2 chains across there, then 5 double crochets. So what we're in effect doing is where the pattern is going to come down and create these lines here, we are leaving a little gap with our chains to be able to work that. So here's one of those, 2 chains, 5 double crochets. Okay, 2 chains, across the chain, and the last 3. 1, 2, oops. Sorry about this, get my yarns tangled up. It's probably because they've been used before, which isn't a great idea, but never mind. So into the last one, and I usually just finish off properly. I don't change colour on the last one. What I now do is bring the beige up and change colour with just a chain. So it's carrying up the edge there, as you can see. Now I'm on row 5, and row 5 says it's got 3 plain blues, so that's 3 double crochets. First one, second one, and third one. Now we've come to our chains, and on my charts I always put a T there, and that's to tell you that what you're going to do now is a UK treble over the top of those sets of chains and into that skip stitch down there. But you're not doing it all the way through. You're going to go yarn over for a normal treble into that stitch, but up in front of the chains. That's the important bit. So you're doing it in front of the work. Yarn over, pull through 1 for a normal treble, yarn over, pull through 2, and then 2. And what you've now done is created a treble in front of those doubles on the previous row. Okay, now what you have to do is skip those chains and look back here. We are on row 5, so we're now doing 4 single crochets. Sorry, we've got to skip that one, so we do 2 chains, 4 single crochets, and another treble. So 2 chains, getting ready for the next row there. Skip that one because that goes with, that's the one you're skipping for the chains, and then 4 single crochets. And now we're back to our situation with 2 sets of chains, as in our chart here. So we're going to do a treble. I'll show you how to do that again. Yarn round over the top of those chains into that skip stitch, but come up in front of the chains. Yarn over, pull through that stitch. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. There's your next treble appearing. Now once more we've got to skip a stitch and do a couple of chains ready for the next row. So skip that one and let's do 4 more. And this is our last treble coming up over the top of the chains. There we go. So yarn over all the way down there. Pick up in front of the chains. Pull through 2, pull through 2. There we are. And we just finished with 1 treble because my sample is slightly smaller than the chart. Okay, so that's the 1 row across in the beige that creates these lovely trebles. So what do we do in our second row? Well, it's very similar, not quite the same. So I will show you that. Again, I'm going to do a single chain just to raise me up a little bit. So you basically do a double crochet into each double crochet. So remember, if you're US, that's a single. And you also do a double crochet into each treble that you created. So if you look over the front, we've already done that in one of our trebles. Back here. So a single crochet in each, a double crochet in each double crochet and each treble. Now we've reached chains again, and that's getting ready for the next colour. So we again do 2 chains, skip those, and now this is a treble. Now this can sometimes happen. You can see that sort of hiding away behind there. So make sure you don't miss any of these trebles on your return row. Make sure you work a double into those. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 chains over the top of the 2 chains. That's always the same on a return row. Now here's another one of our trebles hiding away, look, because it's just underneath that cream there. So make sure you work a double into that and then into each one to the end. And that's basically how you carry on. So you're really shifting the trebles along by one each time. It's a really lovely way to create a colour effect without too much effort. Now the reason it's called inset is that this lies nice and flat because you left space under here with these chains for this treble to sit on top of it. So it's a nice flat piece of work. Now if you use the other technique, which we're now going to look at, which is the overlay one, that's quite different, because in here you're doing a stitch over the top of other stitches, and that means that they create a bit more texture on the front there, but you also just work 1 row per colour, always from the front of the work. Okay, so I'm going to show you how that works now. The charts look the same, except that if this was a chart for this method, you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up there, because you only ever work right side rows, and you wouldn't have any numbers over here. Okay, so here's my one I've started for this. So this time I've used green for the blue and blue for the light blue. Not very useful, but never mind, let's have a look. So I've already done 1 row in the green. So that's the first row here. Again, just double crochets. Now I'm starting on the second row, so you join in a new piece of yarn. Each one, the green's finished over here. It's a new piece of yarn for each row because you're always working from the right side. So we've got these 3 light blue boxes. The first one on the edge I always do as a normal double crochet, but everyone other than that, you do a double crochet, you do it through the back loop only. So there we go. That's the second stitch and that's the third stitch through the back loop only. Now we've got a dark blue, but with this method you don't take any notice of that. You just work all the way across doing double crochets in the back loop only. That dark blue box comes into play on the next row. So with this method, the overlay, you don't have any chains. All you use are double crochets and treble crochets if you're UK, single crochets and double crochets if you're US. You don't use chains at all. You don't have to leave or miss any stitches. You just go straight across if it's in the colour you're using or the opposite colour. Okay, so I just finished this, so all in the back loops. This obviously will come out not so tall as the other way of you doing mosaic crochet because you're only doing 1 row per colour instead of 2. Just going to finish this off, pull it through, Get my scissors and cut it off. Okay, so we've done 2 rows now. We've done row 1 and row 2. Remember, if this was a proper chart for this method, you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've done those 2. So now we're on this one, and this is where on my charts, like I say, I like to put a T, but you won't get that on all charts. So let's see what happens now. So we go back to our green again. We join that in, always from the right side, remember. There we go, through there. Wind the green round and pull it through, and I'll just do a chain. We have 3 normal squares and then 1 with a T in. So 3 normal squares, well, I've done 1. Now, actually, I will do a proper double crochet in there. I had done a chain, but I'm going to do a proper double crochet. So that's the first one. The second one, remember, from now on, through the back loop. So I've done 1, 2, 3. 1 normal, 2 through the back loop. Now I've got this treble, and it's going to, what I'm going to do is a treble in front of that next stitch and looking straight down into the, I'm going to pick up that front loop that we skipped underneath, because we only worked into the back loops, remember. And now I'm doing a normal treble, so yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now at first it will pull a little bit, but that will straighten itself out as we go on. So that's my treble. Now I've got another light blue, but remember, using this method, that it doesn't matter whether it's light or dark. The only ones that are different are the T's. So I've got to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 through the back loop. You do have to make sure you skip that stitch that you've done the treble over the top of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, including that one. And now we've got another treble. So yarn over, look at the stitch underneath, go down to trap that front loop and work into that front loop. So yarn over, pull through to start your treble, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, and we basically keep going like that. So miss that stitch behind the treble, and then we've got 5 of these. So in some ways this is easier. You don't have to worry about missing stitches and doing chains over the top. All you have to worry about is putting your trebles in the right place. So here we go, we've got another treble now because we've done 5 doubles. Yarn over, miss that one, underneath, pick up that front loop that we skipped before, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And finish off with singles through the doubles through the back loop. And then when I get to the last one, I forgot that last time, I normally do it through the whole stitch. Just gives a little bit more stability at the end. Pull that through and cut that off. So that's how the trebles appear using this overlay technique, and the reason it's called overlay is because that is over the top of an actual stitch, which gives it a little bit more texture. It's a bit bumpy. If I look at the full one, you can see these lines across here, which are the front loops that you've been leaving unworked. I think it's a nice effect. I do like it. I'm just not very keen on all the ends. And then just to go back to the other method, which is a lot flatter, which is where you work your trebles over the top of 2 rows of chains. So that lies nice and flat into that stitch that you missed, and that's the difference. So there you have it, 2 different ways of working mosaic crochet. Hope that was helpful for you. Thanks for listening.